Hi Year 12, I'm going to go through the feedback for your short answer section for the half-yearly exam. We're going to do this in two parts. We're going to look at skills first, and then we're going to look at content. In regards to skills, we're looking at how to answer the question and construct the response, focusing on the directive verb. And content, we're looking at what you actually provided. Is the information correct? So in regards to skills, a skill is something that's transferable. So something that you can use not just in this exam, but you can use it in your trial and you can use it in the HSC as well. And you are supposed to be building upon these skills that we have started in Year 11. What we need to focus on is developing the following skills. The first is interpreting the question. Do you actually know what the question is asking you to do? The second thing is referring to examples to support the response when required. Now, some questions ask you to refer to examples or make reference to a case study. In those instances, you had to refer to an example. But my suggestion is to refer to an example regardless, okay? Or refer to the stimulus that's provided. Ensure that you're answering every single question. It was really disappointing to see a number of questions left blank in the short answer section. Even if you don't know the content, you still need to provide something in that answer. Something is better than nothing. Use all the lines to answer the question. The lines are provided to you to show you that if you use all of those lines, you should be able to adequately answer the question. Remove all the fluff from your writing. Okay, so those fluff sentences that introduce what you're going to talk about, you don't have time in the short answer section to have sentences like that. Make sure that you're using the correct punctuation. I know it sounds silly, but it leaves an impression on the marker. If you're not using capital letters at the start of a sentence, if you don't have sentences, if you're referring to a business name and you don't have a capital letter for that business name at the start of that name, all of those things are really important. They leave an impression on the marker, and you want that impression to be positive. And the last thing is to make sure that your writing is legible. Okay, you need to ensure that the marker can read what you are writing. Otherwise, it's really difficult to give you marks. So you should have this document in front of you on your desk. I want you now to go through your paper, flick through your paper, and I want you to rate for each of the skills your confidence level. So you can either write the word or you can draw the symbol in the table. But for each skill, you need to rate how confident you were in doing that. Does your paper show an excellent level of confidence in interpreting the question? Does it show a good level of confidence in referring to examples when required? Do you answer every single question? Okay, so take some time now to go through, pause the video, go through and respond to these questions. Once you've completed that, there is a question for you to respond to at the bottom. How do you plan to improve these skills before the next assessment task? We want you to choose one area. It might be referring to examples to support the response. You might suggest a strategy to come up with to improve that before the next assessment task is hand in a practice question once a week to the teacher and ensure an example is provided in that answer. Take some time to answer that now. Okay, we'll now move on to content. And we'll do this question by question. So have your exam paper in front of you and this booklet in front of you. And when you need to complete the activities, just make sure that you stop the video. So for question 16A, identify one influence this business needs to be aware of in the transformation process. For 1 mark, you just had to identify. This was a tricky question because even though it stated influences, the focus of the question was on the transformation process, okay, not influences. So you had to refer to the 4 V's. You have to make sure that you attack the question so that you're aware of the specific focus area. You should have focused on the influence of volume, variety, or variation in demand. Visibility, we accepted, but it didn't apply to the scenario, and in the HSC, it would not be accepted. And like I said at the start, you don't need to write a sentence. It's a directive term. The directive term is to identify. You just need to state or name. Do not waste your time. Okay, a couple of students did do that. Now we're going to ask you to complete these 2 questions. Stop the video and you need to just circle the answer that applies to you. So did you attack the question? And did you identify only, meaning your response should not have a sentence? So remember, year 12, it's not about did you get the question right. We're looking at whether you are able to do the right steps to ensure that you can get the right marks. The rest comes down to studying. Okay, question 16B. Explain the importance of using one quality management strategy for this business. Students must ensure that when they identify one strategy, they also identify what it is. So show the cause. Why are we using it? You must show how it works to effectively show the effect or the importance. If you can't show how it works, you can't show how it's important to the business. Imagine you are presenting this to a business owner. They want to know why it's important. You can give them a whole list of reasons as to why one particular strategy is important. But if you don't show how it works, they will never see the importance. Some students did not focus on the quality of the product during, but rather the impact on the environment. Always draw your response back to quality management. So this was about the quality of the product, not the impact on the environment. So you need to bring it back to quality management because the question said quality management strategy, and we're looking at the product. When showing the importance, you must show what it achieves. So, a business owner is going to want to know why it's important because they want to know what it is going to do for their business. What will it achieve for them? So in the long term, it always links back to customer satisfaction and increased profit. But why does it get to that point? Why is there customer satisfaction? Because you use quality assurance. A focus in this question was for this business. So you had to refer to the scenario, and majority of students didn't link back to the business. If you didn't, you wouldn't receive 4 out of 4, even if you had exceptional content. So you had to refer back to the business to get 4 out of 4. This was a sample response that did receive 4 out of 4. I'll just go through the response with you. The strategy of quality control must be considered by the business. So I already know, first sentence, they're referring to quality control as their strategy. Probably a fluff sentence, we don't need that sentence. Quality control consists of operations management inspecting various stages of the production process. Okay, I know how it works. From this, businesses can implement strategies in the process in order to reduce wastage. Okay, you're showing the owner that, hey, use this, you can reduce wastage. That will always lead back to reduce costs. This will allow for Wonder Bottle Pty Ltd to address the increase in demand by efficiently producing water bottles with no wastage. This will eventually allow for profit maximization as defects are being reduced. Okay, you can see the long-term goal of why it's important. You can see why it's important to this business, and you can see how it works, and they've correctly identified a strategy. Now I want you to read your answer again, and then you're going to complete the following. The first is, based on your answer, rate your confidence level in understanding of content. Okay, so when you looked at this question and you read your answer now, did you know your content? Did you refer to quality assurance, quality control, or total quality management? Then I want you to correctly define the quality management strategy you provided in your answer. If you didn't provide an accurate quality management strategy, choose one now that you would refer to and define it. Okay, define what it is and how it works. Then, based on your response, tick the boxes that apply to you. So I accurately provided the correct definition for the chosen quality management strategy. I made clear connections to the business Wonder Bottle. I demonstrated why the strategy is important for Wonder Bottle. I demonstrated why the strategy is important, but I did not link to Wonder Bottle. I did not refer back to the quality of the product. Some reasons for importance I referred to were reduced defects, improves lead times, improves customer satisfaction, ensures quality is maintained during increased periods of demand, increases profit, or other. And for the above reasons, I showed how the strategy works to achieve them. Take some time now to answer those questions. Okay, moving on to question 17A. Identify this type of financial statement. Now have a look at your exam paper, because this question was extremely disappointing across the whole cohort. Many students didn't know what this financial statement was, and this was a real concern. This is what we call an entry-level mark. It's those easy one markers that you should be able to get. It's the entry level in, and many of you did not know that this was a profit and loss statement or a revenue statement. You need to revise statements because this is assumed knowledge from the prelim course, and this has previously been a HSC question. So in order to revise the statements, you're going to complete the following table by listing the features of each statement. You need to also include the purpose. So why do we use this statement? So for a cash flow statement, what are the features that you can see on the statement? And what is the purpose of a business using this statement? The same for an income, revenue, or profit and loss statement, and the same for a balance sheet. So can you take some time now, pause the video and do that now. Okay, moving on to question 17B. Calculate the net profit ratio for 2017, and the formula is provided to you. Now, when it says calculate, you need to show working out. And you can see the third point here. I've said congratulations. Every student showed working out, a first in Clancy history for a half yearly. Every student provided working out. Whether that working out was correct or incorrect, that's a different story, but every student provided working out. So this was an easy entry-level question because you didn't have any missing figures. Okay, you only had to calculate the net profit by literally plugging in the correct features into the ratio. In the HSC though, you won't get a question this easy. Okay, the net profit will not be provided to you, and you'll need to know your prelim calculations in order to work out the net profit. For this ratio, answers are better provided as a percentage, and you must refer to at least 2 decimal places, but not necessary. And some students did refer to the 2016 figures. Make sure you read the question carefully. It did say 2017. So I want you to now look at your response and respond to each of these questions. Did I use the correct figures? Yes or no? Did I provide my answer as a ratio or percentage? Percentage, ratio, or neither? I made an error. Did I refer to at least 2 decimal places if my answer was a percentage? Yes or no? And did I refer to my answer as a ratio correctly? So 0.50 to 1, yes or no? Pause the video, take some time to look at your answer and answer those questions. Okay, question 17C. Recommend one financial management strategy KP's Kebabs Pty Ltd could use to improve their profitability. In this question, you had to explicitly refer to one profitability management strategy. It said one, so you can only refer to one. The wording of this question may have thrown you off at first, but you should link back to profitability to know which strategy to use. Okay, it just said financial management strategy. Okay, so that part might have thrown you off. Whoops. Okay, that might have thrown you off, but it's asking you to improve profits. Okay, so you have to go back to your profitability management strategies. Many students did not explicitly refer to a syllabus management strategy that improves profitability, which is either cost control or revenue control. And then you would choose one within those subheadings. Recommend requires students to provide reasons in favour for. In other words, convince the marker why this business should be using this strategy. You're recommending it. You need to show them why they need to use it. Ultimately, you should be showing how it's going to improve their profit, because the question is asking to improve profitability. In order to do the above, in order to show how it improves profits, you must show how the strategy works. Okay, you have to show how it works to get to that point. According to the question, you must show how it will work for KP's Kebabs. You need to use the figures in the statement. This could include minimizing expenses by cutting wages, which many students did refer to, and it was reflective in the statement. Also ensure you're using the correct subject-specific terminology. So I've just provided you a sample. I'll go through this sample with you. KP's Kebabs could implement expense minimization in order to improve their profitability. Okay, straight away I know expense minimization. The student could have also said a cost control method of expense minimization to really show the marker that they know their syllabus. This could be achieved through changing phone or electricity companies. This would reduce the expenses of KP's Kebabs, allowing for a greater net profit. Since reduced expenses result in a greater net profit, ultimately KP's Kebabs' profitability would therefore improve. Now, this was a really good response. I just said here that they should say changing phone or their electricity companies to find a cheaper alternative, a cheaper company. But overall, a good response. It did show how it would reduce the expenses and it would lead to a greater net profit, which would increase profitability. I want you to read your response now for that question and answer the following. The first is to rate your emotion when you saw this question. In other words, did you know your syllabus? Could you think of the profitability management strategies? And if you can't remember, then read your answer and see if you've put a revenue control or a cost control, which could have been fixed or variable costs. It could have been expense minimization. or it could have been cost centers. Then I want you to tick the following boxes if your response has these elements. So if you read your response and you can see these elements, then tick the boxes. A clear identification of the relevant strategy in the first sentence. Okay, relevant strategy, which means from the syllabus. Referred to the strategy exactly how it appears in the syllabus. Explained how the strategy works. Linked to how the strategy will improve profit. Referred to features of KP's Kebab statements to show how it will apply to this business. And only referred to the business name KP's Kebabs. So you might have just referred to KP's Kebabs but not actually shown how it will work for KP's Kebabs. If that was you, then tick that box. Then I want you to add in every box a specific term or concept that you can see in your response that's relevant to the question. Okay, so the more, the better, but fill in as many as you can. So pause the video and answer and complete those activities now, please. Okay, question 17D. This was a previous HSC question from 2012. Explain the interdependence between finance and operations. Use an example to support your response. Many students only provided one link showing how operations depends on finance. This is about interdependence. So it's not just how operations depends on finance or just how finance depends on operations. You need to show both sides. So the most common answer provided was that operations needs money to produce products. This is not sophisticated enough. Okay? You don't say needs money. Okay? I need money. Operations needs finance to produce products. To show interdependence, you must also show how finance depends on operations, not just how operations depends on finance, which is what most students did. It's important to remember that finance does not sell products. They produce products. Sorry, this is incorrect. It should say operations. I'll change that now and you can change that on your sheet. So it's important to remember operations does not sell products. They only produce the products and stock the inventory. It's important to only link back to the role of operations. Selling products is marketing, and creating a new product is also marketing. An important part of this question was to support your answer with an example, and many students failed to do this. Okay, you can see here it's very explicit. Use an example to support your response. Do not use fluff sentences so you can get straight to the point. Now I've provided an example here, but I've requested to the student to have a more explicit example and to link back right at the end. But overall, quite a detailed response, and it does show both sides in regards to interdependence. The interdependence between finance and operations involves both functions of the business relying on each other in order to achieve its objectives. Finance involves the expenditure and management of profits, which is used through a business plan that contains the firm's long and short-term objectives. Operations department is the process using inputs, raw materials, labour and transport to produce an output of a product or service. For instance, during the process of designing and manufacturing a product or service, the use of finance generates the business's ability to purchase outsourcing materials from its suppliers. As a result, the business is able to meet high-quality products and service, which fulfills customer satisfaction, which leads to generating profits in order for the business to remain competitive within the market. I then suggested to link back to finance to show that the finance department can then redistribute these funds to other areas of the business. But overall, this was a really detailed response. Have a read of your response now, and then you are going to complete the following statements, which is basically the structure of a short answer of responding to this question. Then I want you to read your response. I should say your response, not you response. And put a star next to any fluff sentences that don't answer the question. And underline any word you feel could be replaced with a more sophisticated word or subject-specific term. So pause the video, take some time to answer that now. Okay, question 18. Examine the implications of Jessica using last in, first out as a method of valuing stock. This was worth 3 marks. Many students had an understanding of what last in, first out is. However, didn't always link it back to valuing stock. So I was quite impressed with the amount of students who did know and were able to show their understanding of last in, first out, but didn't link back to valuing stock. Students need to ensure that they read the question carefully, as it requests more than one implication. You can see here, implications. What is the effect of Jessica using last in, first out as a way of valuing her stock? So you should have referred to these 2 implications or others. Older stock becomes obsolete and can lose sales in the future. That's an implication, that's an impact. And overstating COGS and understating profit for tax advantages. It's an implication, it's an effect. So I provided an answer here, but again, not a perfect response. It didn't refer to Jessica, but it was detailed in showing implications. So the stock valuation method of last in, first out is one that overstates or overvalues stock, resulting in the cost of goods being recorded as a large expense. In turn, this will decrease the stated profit and consequently decrease the amount of company taxation the business will pay. However, low profits will deteriorate shareholder confidence and are unattractive for possible future investors. Another possible implication being the ability for the business to cop legal I think it says cop, but it shouldn't say that, legal repercussions from the Australian Taxation Office and the Australian Securities Investment Commission. Now, that last one is correct, but you should say why. But the student has 3 others that clearly show the implication on the business. I want you to now read your response and answer the following questions. I confused LIFO and FIFO, yes or no? I referred to Jessica's business, yes or no? I provided more than one implication of the LIFO method in valuing stock, yes or no? And the implications I addressed in my response are, okay, so this student could easily pick out 3 implications. You need to at least pick out 2. Pause the video, take some time to do that now. Question 18b. Why is it important that Jessica matches the terms and source of finance to the business purpose? Now, this is a really small syllabus point and many students didn't study this in depth. But we wanted to show you that in the HSC they can ask questions on the smallest point that you will overlook or may overlook when you study. So it's important to cover every point. Matching the term and source of finance to the business purpose means to match the type of finance to the right goal. For example, short-term finance, an overdraft, to fund a short-term goal, like purchasing inventory. The above is the content side. You need to show that part in order to show why that's important. This was really difficult to do whilst also incorporating the scenario, and we were quite generous in giving marks in this question. Remember, if the question says, why is it important, then you must focus on that part of the question, but to do that you need to show content. So I provided a sample response here. It is considerably important for Jessica to match short-term sources of finance to short-term needs. So she uses a mortgage, 15 to 30 years, to invest in the diversification of sporting goods. She will be repaying the mortgage even after the diversification is complete. Likewise, with using an overdraft to purchase property, which will severely hinder Jessica's liquidity as it has high interest rates and is a quick access to finance, not suitable for purchasing property. So you can see it's important because 1, they will be repaying the mortgage after the diversification is complete, and 2, if she uses an overdraft to purchase property, it's going to hinder her liquidity because of high interest rates. You can see why it's important to match the right term, the right source of finance to the business purpose. To refine your understanding for this area, you're going to complete the following mix and match activity. Okay? It's basically joining up the sentences that will show kind of like a flow chart. So start in the first column here. If Jessica uses a short-term source of finance to finance a long-term purpose, and then you need to choose either this box or this box and draw a line to match it up. Then you go to the next sentence. So you're basically preparing a response and matching the correct order up. So you go from the first column to the second, to the third, to the fourth. And then you do the same for the bottom. If Jessica uses a long-term source of finance, choose which one here is most suitable, then which one here is most suitable, and then which one here is most suitable. Take some time to do that now. And question 19. This was the final question. It was an 8-marker. With reference to a business, analyze the use of one strategy in balancing cost and quality in production. This is a difficult question. It was a learn to statement from the operations syllabus. It required you to apply your knowledge about strategies. You had to refer to one strategy and how it can achieve a balance of high quality products but lower costs to produce those high quality products, because that's the aim of the business. Reduce costs, be a cost leader, but ensure that they are maintaining quality. The question was required you to analyze, so you had to draw out implications, both positive and negative. It was 8 marks, so you had enough marks to do both. You had to show how the strategy can achieve a balance between cost and quality, but also how it might hinder the ability to achieve a balance between cost and quality. Majority of students made reference to a relevant strategy and referred to a business, as was stated in the question. Okay, it did say with reference to a business, and many students did do that. And I've provided a sample here. Again, not perfect, but a good detailed response. A business must implement strategies to balance cost and quality in the production process. A business may adhere to a supply chain management that undergoes global sourcing. The student has underlined for the marker the strategy that they're referring to. Global sourcing allows for businesses to take advantage of the appreciation in the Australian dollar to purchase cheaper materials from exporters. Businesses such as Kmart undergo cross-stocking in order to receive their supply and inputs from countries such as Hong Kong, China, and Singapore. Kmart strategically considers economies of scale. This allows for Kmart to buy in bulk with a cheaper price per unit cost. Although this is highly efficient in minimizing expenses, Businesses must not jeopardize quality. The quality of products is ensured through Kmart's research and development before global sourcing in their supply chain management. Therefore, global sourcing in supply chain management is entirely effective in balancing cost and quality. Now, again, this response isn't perfect. It doesn't show the negatives. It doesn't show how sometimes getting a cheaper price per unit can result in less quality or poor quality, and how it's really difficult if you are going to pay for higher quality to reduce your costs. So quality needs to be linked to a lot earlier in the response, and the student did need to look at negatives. In order to help you analyze, which is what the difficult part was of this question, and I don't think any student really did that completely effectively. I actually don't think any student received 8 marks for that question. We want you to complete these statements. So basically, it's a structured answer, and you are completing the missing words or sentences to make the response effective. And to analyze, we use the if, then, therefore. So I'll just go through the positive implication first, okay, because all of this would be the 8 marker. McDonald's has utilized the strategy of leading edge technology to ensure quality and cost is balanced. This is seen through their implementation of, okay, what is their leading edge technology that they have used? The then part, this has allowed McDonald's to reduce costs in production of, okay, give me a product. Therefore is the next part. As a result, that doesn't really make sense. As a result, this has led to a decrease of expenses by 25%. In the long term, and increase customer satisfaction. Complete the positive implication, then complete the negative implication. Then you've got to imagine that this would be a 8 out of 8 response for that question. So take some time, pause the video, and do that now. Once you've completed that, that's all the feedback for the short answers. Make sure that you have this feedback sheet with you at parent-teacher interviews. It's really important, so we can ensure that we know where you are going next in regards to assessment task 3 and the trial and the HSC exam. It's not expected that you know your content 100% for the half yearly, but we need to make sure that we're fixing the little things so we can get it right at the trial, like answering all of the questions, studying regularly, practicing and handing in responses. They are the only things that are going to ensure that you can do well in the trial exam, and make sure that you know your syllabus. Okay, that's the first question that you've got to ask yourself. Did you know your syllabus when you went into this exam?